Leading a small company of veteran dwarven warriors, Yarpen Zigrin and his companions traveled throughout the north hunting game, working as mercenaries and seeking treasure, eventually leading to their greatest victory, slaying the albino red dragon Octavist. Searching for further adventure and coin, the dwarves made their way to the Hengfors League, where King Nidamir offered a substantial reward for the death of a female green dragon roaming his lands. Given the rarity of dragons and lucrative bounty, the dwarves were not the only ones interested, and so in addition to the king, the hunting party included a number of individuals and groups, each with their own agendas, including the sorcerer Dorigare, the knight Ike of Denisil, the witcher Geralt of Rivia, the poet Dandelion, Boholt and his reavers, who cut a deal and joined forces with the sorceress Yennefer of Vengerberg, as well as Yarpen's crew, and finally the knight Borch Three Jackdaws, accompanied by the fearsome Arcanian warriors, Thea and Vea. Throughout the journey, they learned a local peasant poisoned the dragon with tainted mutton, and so tracked the wounded creature only to be confronted by a beautiful golden dragon blocking their way. The mate of the green dragon, the golden dragon, communicated with the hunters and challenged them to an individual duel. Obsessed with honor, the knight Ike hastily accepted, only to be defeated and badly wounded in mere moments. After witnessing the dragon's victory, the party broke apart, though the dwarves, reavers, and Yennefer decided to continue on, now hunting the golden dragon as well. Yet they were opposed by Geralt, Dandelion, and Dorigare, who thought it wrong to kill such an intelligent and rare creature. Though Yennefer used her magic to help capture Geralt and the others, she then unexpectedly turned against her comrades, claiming she would handle the dragon alone. A cunning warrior, Yarpen acted quickly, hitting her in the head and disorienting her just long enough to tie her up so she could not interfere. Charging against the golden dragon, Yarpen and the others were quickly defeated and sent into retreat, but soon 3 wagons full of men led by Sheepbagger arrived to take over the fight. Unable to keep pace with so many assailants, the golden dragon might have died, if not for the warriors Thea and Vea, who came to his defense. Geralt then helped Yennefer free one of her legs so she could cast spells, allowing them to defeat the assailants. Claiming victory, the golden dragon revealed himself as the knight Borch Three Jackdaws, being so powerful he could polymorph into human form. Before departing, he introduced them to his child, a young hatchling who he and the green dragon were protecting. Following this thrilling yet ultimately fruitless mission, Yarpen and company remained on good terms with the Witcher Geralt, despite being on opposite sides of the hunt, and next ran into him during a mission for King Henselt of Kedwin in 1265. At war with the scoia'tael, rebel non-humans seeking their own homeland, King Henselt was in need of warriors and so hired Yarpen and his dwarves, sending them to guard a caravan for their first assignment. Finding Geralt, his adopted daughter Ciri, and friend Triss Merigold along the way, they all traveled together for a time, but were eventually attacked by the scoia'tael. Although the rebel warriors included dwarves, Yarpen and his men fought bravely against their own, and with the help of Dunbanner reinforcements, won the battle. Yet their victory came at a heavy cost, as Yannick Brass and Polly Dahlberg were killed, along with their mission commander, Commissar Wilfred Venk. As Venk lay dying, his last words were an order to inform the king Yarpen and his men were innocent. It was then revealed that the mission was actually just a test of loyalty, as King Henselt was at war with non-humans, and so did not trust the dwarven company. To dispel his own doubts, he sent them on a fake mission while also tipping off the scoia'tael so they would attack. If the dwarves fought back, they were loyal. If they ran, they were traitors. Having fought with courage, Wilfred Venk wanted to convey their innocence to the king, but this revelation infuriated the dwarves, who lost 2 of their comrades for nothing. They soon parted company with Geralt, who told his daughter Ciri never to mention what they saw that day. Years later, the dwarves who remained in the company fought valiantly in defense of the north during the Second Northern War, helping to win a final great victory in the Battle of Brenna, and while he lost many of his comrades, Yarpen Zigrin ultimately survived. Known to many as the Iron Wolf, Isengrim Faoiltiarna was a veteran elven warrior and leader of the scoia'tael rebels during their alliance with Nilfgaard prior to the Second Northern War. Tasked with causing chaos as a guerrilla army, they weakened the northern realms for southern invasion. During the coup on Thanet, when the Brotherhood of Sorcerers broke into warring factions, Isengrim traveled with a group of scoia'tael warriors to aid their allies on the island, such as their future elven queen Francesca Findabair. Once the war officially began, the Iron Wolf earned the rank of colonel and became leader of the Elven Vrihed Brigade, who earned fame for their brutality and merciless tactics. For a time, they captured Cahir Mar Difrenep Kellach, a Nilfgaardian soldier who eventually escaped custody and joined the Witcher Geralt of Rivia on his quest to rescue his daughter. Participating in the Battle of Brenna, he led his warriors against the Temerian and Redanian lines, but the elves, scoia'tael, and Nilfgaardians were ultimately defeated. In the peace negotiations that followed in Sintra, Francesca Findabair gained a small elven kingdom in Dol Blathanna, where she ruled as queen, but in exchange, the scoia'tael rebels were sacrificed entirely and condemned as rebels, thereby forbidding them from entering the realm they fought to create. As for the elves serving directly under the Nilfgaardian flag, they were mostly spared, but in exchange their most effective and brutal officers were given to the north as war criminals. In total, 32 elven officers were selected, including the Iron Wolf, and while Nilfgaard claimed they negotiated for fair hearings and merciful punishments, the prisoners laughed at the notion, knowing they would be executed immediately. And as expected, before even facing trial, the Iron Wolf saw 2 of his comrades strangled and stabbed before being told his fate would be worse. Yet after 2 days of working on his restraints, the Iron Wolf at last broke free and attacked those surrounding him before jumping through a window to escape. Fleeing south as a fugitive, Isengrim happened upon Siggy Reuven, also known as Sigismund Dijkstra, and Boreas Munn, both of whom were leaving the north for their own secret reasons. Despite years fighting against humans, Isengrim realized the world was changing and struck up a friendship, agreeing to form a company as they traveled south. Working as a scribe and studying to be a scholar, Jarre was a 16-year-old boy in an all-girls temple school, and thus received a good deal of attention from those near his age. Yet in truth, he only developed feelings for one of them, the former Princess Ciri, adopted daughter of the Witcher Geralt and sorceress Yennefer of Vengerberg. Becoming completely infatuated with her, they spent a lot of time together, though Ciri did not share his feelings, and would sometimes feign flirtation in order to manipulate him as needed. After Ciri left the school and the Second Northern War began, Jarre grew restless and unwilling to remain a quiet scholar, living in comfort and safety. Begging Mother Nenneca, he asked permission to leave and join the war effort, hoping to prove himself worthy of Ciri by fighting to defend the north, and possibly even searching for her if possible. Hoping to protect the boy, Mother Nenneca refused him until he could take no more and fled the temple, hoping to join the Mahakam volunteer army. Instead, he was assigned to the poor fucking infantry alongside his childhood friend Melfi. Though he knew it unlikely to ever see her again, he was still in love with Ciri and had her name written on a locket he carried. Sent to fight in the Battle of Brenna, the PFI were given pikes and ordered to hold the line against charging cavalry. Though the unit was made up of inexperienced, untrained village boys who were torn apart by enemy forces, they showed extraordinary courage and determination, successfully completing their mission by halting the cavalry's advance. Both his friend Melfi and their commander Bronibor were killed, while Jarre lost a hand and would have surely bled to death if not for his old friend Yola II from the temple school, now serving as a medic. Yola brought him to a surgeon who treated his wound and saved his life, but Jarre quickly became depressed, believing his lost hand meant he could never win the love of Ciri or even call himself a real man. Yet just as he was at his lowest, he met a kind girl named Lucian, and they fell in love, allowing him to at last find happiness. Living to a ripe old age, Jarre returned to his life as a scholar, and eventually wrote an account of the war and Battle of Brenna in his work Chronicles celebrating Temerian rule. His granddaughter was named Ciri. The bastard daughter of a Cintran noblewoman, Angouleme, was sent to live with relatives, suffering under their emotional abuse for years, while receiving only occasional, sporadic, and unannounced visits from her mother. When Sintra was conquered in the First Nilfgaardian War, her family lost everything and so sent her to an orphanage, where she was physically abused. Eventually she had enough and escaped along with 6 others, going on a mini crime spree before joining the famed Nightingale gang. Quickly learning their new comrades were not to be trusted, they stole from the gang and fled. Unfortunately, they were then apprehended by Prefect Fulco Artevelde of Riedbrunne and all executed, save for Angouleme, who was interrogated. Learning of the Nightingale's plot to kill the Witcher Geralt of Rivia, the Prefect used the information in a meeting with the White Wolf when he later visited the town. Although Geralt was grateful for the information, the moment was overshadowed by his fixation on Angouleme, who at first looked identical to his daughter Ciri. Even after realizing they simply appeared similar, he felt compelled to arrange her release, thereby saving her life. Grateful to the Witcher, she joined his company as they traveled to find and rescue his daughter Ciri, but Angouleme's experiences in life meant she felt something else was necessary to truly express her gratitude. Yet when she offered to be intimate with the Witcher, she was astonished to learn he did not want or expect it, and even forbade her from bringing it up again. Growing ever more loyal to Geralt, she followed him through every adventure, including a dangerous mission to see the Druids of the Forest, and a luxurious winter in Toussaint, before joining in the final assault on Stygia Castle against the evil sorcerer Vilgefortz and his men. Successfully completing their mission, the company became separated, leading the Nilfgaardian Cahir to sacrifice himself so Ciri and Angouleme might escape. Unfortunately, Angouleme was already stabbed in the thigh and soon collapsed from blood loss. As she lay dying in the arms of Ciri, who she knew was a princess of Sintra, some of her final words asked about whether she could be made into a countess. Though every member of the company present, save for Geralt, was killed, they succeeded in defeating the garrison, killing Vilgefortz, and rescuing both Ciri and Yennefer of Vengerberg. Angouleme and the other members of Geralt's company were buried outside Stygia Castle.
Love The Witcher or any other series? Then why not check out Audible, where they have the largest collection of audiobooks available. Sign up now and get 1 free audiobook and 2 Audible originals, or else give the gift of membership to someone you know. If you prefer to read your stories, then click on the link to the Kindle Unlimited plan and get access to as many ebooks as you want. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the excellent Witcher audiobooks, narrated by Peter Kenny, including the main novels and short stories which accompany the series. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X,
like Lionel Storm, the Warhammer of Lightning, Mamoru, the obscured hermit alchemist, Barian the soft bastard Beesbury, and Kurgan the Immortal.
If you'd like to help the channel, go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can sign up and gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and access the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.